It's hard to imagine a world without computers. No PCs, smartphones, or internet. But it's even harder believing that nearly 200 years ago, a woman who envisioned the very foundations of modern computing was nearly silenced and erased for her inventions. Nearly 2 centuries ago, Ada Lovelace, a woman ahead of her time, laid the foundations for modern computing. Her notes on Charles Babbage's analytical engine contained the very first computer algorithm, a concept that today powers everything from smartphones to AI. And yet, her work was largely ignored, her ideas unrecognized, her contributions nearly erased from history. She was never published under her own name, and her groundbreaking insights were dismissed. This is the story of Ada Lovelace, a visionary who was not only imagined the future of computing, but also unknowingly highlighted a struggle that continues to this day, the fight for women's recognition in STEM. As we examine her life, we ask ourselves, what are our rights and responsibilities when it comes to ensuring that pioneers such as Lovelace are not forgotten? And how can we build a future where every innovator, regardless of gender, has the opportunity to shape the world? Born in 1815, Ada Lovelace was not raised in an ordinary household. She was the daughter of the poet Lord Byron and the highly educated Annabella Milbank. But Ada never knew her father. He abandoned the family when she was just a few months old. Ada's mother, determined to steer her away from Byron's artistic tendencies, ensured that her daughter received a rigorous education in mathematics and science, subjects rarely taught to women at the time. While other young girls were expected to refine their embroidery skills or study literature, Ada was immersed in the study of math and science. But education alone does not make a revolutionary thinker. It was Ada's ability to see beyond the immediate, to imagine not just what things were, but what they could be. And that is what set her apart. At the age of 17, she met Charles Babbage, a mathematician and inventor who was working on an ambitious project, the analytical engine, an early mechanical machine designed to perform complex calculations. While most people saw it as a glorified calculator, Ada saw something more. She saw its potential to process symbols, store information, and even create sequences, what we now call programming. In 1843, when she was asked to translate an article about Babbage's analytical engine, she went far beyond simple translation. She added detailed annotations, notes that were 3 times longer than the original text. In them, she described how the machine could be programmed, proposed a method for computing Bernoulli numbers, and even theorized that it could one day compose music and create art. In these notes, Ada Lovelace wrote the first computer algorithm in history. But was her name celebrated? Did she receive recognition for these ideas? No. The paper was published, but under her initials alone, AAL, masking her identity as a woman. Society was not yet ready to acknowledge that a woman could contribute to mathematics, let alone computing. How many other women have been erased from history in the same way? Ada Lovelace's contributions to computing were not dismissed because they were unimportant. They were dismissed because of who she was. The 19th century was an era where women were systematically excluded from academic and scientific fields. Universities did not admit them, and scientific journals did not publish them. The idea that a woman could be a mathematician, let alone a visionary and pioneer of the digital age, was unthinkable. And so, Ada's work was largely ignored. After her death in 1852, at just 36 years old, her notes gathered dust for nearly a century. Only in the 1950s and 60s, when the world was beginning to develop computers, were her ideas rediscovered. It was then that historians and engineers looking back through the archives found something astonishing, a woman that outlined the principles of computer programming over 100 years ago. Imagine what could have been achieved if her work had been recognized in its own time. Imagine if her insights had influenced early technological developments. How far ahead might we be today? And yet, the problem persists. Even now, women in STEM face the challenge of underrepresentation, fewer opportunities, and the constant battle for recognition. So we must ask, whose responsibility is it to change this? We have made progress since Ada Lovelace's time, but has it been enough? Today, on average, women make up less than 30% of the STEM workforce. They receive fewer research grants, hold fewer leadership positions, and are cited less frequently in academic papers. Their contributions are still questioned, still undervalued. It is our right to have equal access to education and career opportunities in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But with that right comes a responsibility to ensure that the next generation of innovators does not face the same barriers that Ada Lovelace did. So, how do we do this? Well, 1. We could start by advocating for policies that promote gender equality in STEM education and workplaces. 2. By amplifying the voices of women in science technology. And 3. By ensuring that historical figures such as Ada Lovelace are remembered and celebrated, not as an exception, but as part of a long and ongoing story about women in STEM. Expanding opportunities for women in STEM is not just about fairness, it is about unlocking the full potential of human innovation. When half of the population is systematically underrepresented in scientific and technological fields, we lose out on the most groundbreaking of ideas, diverse perspectives, and innovative solutions to the world's most pressing challenges. Consider the countless advancements that may have been delayed or never even realized because a woman, such as Ada Lovelace, were denied the opportunity to contribute fully to their fields. If she had been encouraged rather than dismissed, if her ideas had been explored rather than ignored, the history of computing, and indeed the world, might look very different today. By failing to recognize and support women in STEM, we do not just hold back on individuals, rather, we hold back on progress itself. Moreover, the responsibility to create a more inclusive future in STEM does not rest solely on women. It is a collective and collaborative effort that requires commitment from all of us. Educational institutions must work actively to dismantle the biases that steer young girls away from science and math. Employers must create environments where women are not only hired but given equal opportunities to lead and innovate. Governments and funding organizations must ensure that research grants and academic positions are awarded equally and equitably. And each of us, as individuals, must challenge the narratives that tell young women they do not belong in STEM fields. If we truly want to honor Ada Lovelace's legacy, we must do more than remember her name. We must ensure that no future pioneer faces the same erasure. The fight for equality in STEM is not just about rewriting history, rather, it's about shaping a future where no brilliant mind is left behind. Ada Lovelace's story is more than just history. It's a call to action. She envisioned a world where machines could think, but she also unknowingly highlighted another battle, the fight for recognition and inclusion in STEM. So, now, the question falls to us is this: what will we do? Will we allow future pioneers to be erased? Or will we uphold our responsibility to ensure that history, past, present, and the future is written fairly, where every innovator is given the chance and recognition they deserve? Because history is not just something we inherit, it's something we create.